you have to put a penis in a vagina in order for the sperm to be delivered, in order for there to be pregnancy, and that the period usually happens 14 days before the next period, assuming a 28-day cycle, not 14 days after the last one. Chime in anytime. He knows a lot of stuff too. So, okay, that's a long answer to a great question. Any comments, questions, suggestions? But if you know, he knows he's got erectile dysfunction, and there's enough cultural, oh, that's a bummer. But even people in their 20s and 30s have ED. You know, I remember being with someone and I thought, this is just a bad idea. And I had erectile dysfunction because, like, yeah, this isn't going to go anywhere, and I don't like you, and you're not really my type. So, you know, so no matter what, like, oh well, didn't have sex because couldn't have sex. All right, good, perfect. When starting to date a nice guy, I think I should get my glasses, but I don't think I brought them. When starting to date a nice guy, how do I know when it's appropriate to start having sexual intercourse? Third date, several months. Do both need to get tested for STDs before? Yes, all of you should get, unless you're a virgin, meaning you've never had a sexual part inside of your mouth, vagina, anus, should be tested, because you might have gotten an STD 25 years ago, and that would be a drag. So to be tested, and you can get gonorrhea of the throat. I knew someone who had herpes of the throat. She didn't get it from walking into a doorknob. So the thing about when to have sex, people in this room, and I only know really one of you, there are people who've had sex with people they've met 15 minutes earlier, and maybe you were at that party, maybe you weren't. I knew a woman who had plenty of her share of sex partners, and she said, well, I'm going to do it differently now. I'm going to wait 3 months and only get to know the guy. It's like, okay, fine, that's just great that you do. And she waited 3 months and said, well, sex was terrible, relationship over instantaneously because he was bad at sex. So, presuming you don't have, you know, well, I could bring up God, but I won't. I almost did, but I'll probably bring up God later. You know, if it's okay with you morally that this is fun, and we're just going to go have fun, and it's consensual, and people talk about getting people drunk. I barely drink anything besides water, but I've heard from a friend who drinks like a fish. She said a lot of guys get whiskey dip. So I don't even drink whiskey, but alcohol-induced erectile dysfunction. So you don't want to be out drinking all night as a guy and find somebody at 1:52 in the morning and take them home and go, oh, I'm drunk as a skunk, I can't fuck. That's just, you are just stupid as a guy. And if you're having sex with someone that you don't know, that hasn't been tested, it's just because you know someone. Look, half of this room, and I'm not saying which half, has herpes. Okay? Half of us have herpes. So it could be herpes 1 or herpes 2. Herpes 1 is generally above the belt. I got mine when I was about 5, when my aunt kissed me when she had herpes, so I have a herpes sore here. Oh my God, I have herpes. If you're old enough to remember when Time magazine had the scarlet letter H on the cover, scared the bejesus out of me. Like, oh my God, herpes. And everybody goes, oh my God, I have herpes. Herpes is no big deal. There are drugs you can take to prevent it if you get outbreaks all the time. If you've ever had a fever blister is herpes. Not kind of like herpes, a fever blister is herpes. And if it's here, it's herpes 2, and if it's here, it's herpes 1. I knew someone who, a guy with a herpes outbreak bit her on her hip, so she had herpes there. And herpes stays dormant in your spine until you get stressed, like maybe you're skiing, or it's finals, or you're giving a lecture to a bunch of people on sex, and then the stress can cause the herpes virus to manifest. But herpes doesn't go away. All right. So whether you have sex, you know, if you wait several months, it's really up to you. Religious background, morality, you know, am I a slut? What, you know, people say, oh, you're a slut. You had sex with me, you're an equal slut, whether it was 3 minutes into knowing you, right? Or fourth date, or, you know, in the elevator. That was the day. Were you there too? You know, it's okay if you both go, yeah, like, let's, but try to avoid pregnancy. And Part of me is thinking I should sit down, part of me thinks I should stand up.
Don't sit down. Just project. You got it.
I'm good at the projecting. Are you just projecting? We'll take the bottom one, because I like bottoms. What? What did he mean? Do you know, oh, were there any comments about my comments? Helpful advice? Okay. Do you know or have any guesses why some people don't realize they're not straight until later in life? Do you know or have any guesses why some people don't realize they're not straight until later in life? This is the coffee drink that they have on television while they're waiting to ask the guy a question.
Can I say an answer?
You may.
Our society is very repressive, and there's a lot of stigma, so unless you're really sure, you don't want to say anything. And sexuality may be very repressed in your household. You're not even supposed to talk about sex with your kid, probably.
Good point. How many of you had your parents teach you or do the birds and the bees sex talks with you? And not just about birds and bees, but about humans.
Like what?
How many of you had your parents talk to you about birds and the bees, a sex talk when you were growing up? Good, good. About a third of the room. That's good. My mother was a doctor. I don't have any recollection of any birds and the bee talk ever. I mean, I do recall like there are condoms and things, but I don't recall the rest of that. But I think they knew that I was a smart kid. But nonetheless, a lot of people have believed these myths, like you can't get pregnant having sex the first time. You can't get pregnant if cracking up. You can't get pregnant if you have sex standing up. There is no such thing as a safe date, provided that you're still ovulating, having your periods, menstruating, same thing. If you're in that age range from 10, 11 to 40, 50, 55, but you know if you're menstruating or not up to me, you can still get pregnant. So if there's sperm running around, even including sperm on the vulva, oh, let me do that. Let me do basic anatomy. Would you like to volunteer? No? Okay. Damn it. I did last time. So if no chalkboard. Well, I asked for so little. Okay, so, and I even looked something up the other day online and for female anatomy, and it didn't show a clitoris. I guess they still didn't know what a clitoris is, and it's 2025. So if this is the front of a woman, and because it's post the 1998 federal no pubic hair law that we recall being passed, so here are the labia, and inside are more labia, lips. Have a seat. So they're like this, and at the top, very good. We're passing around papers for questions.